Beefy Boys Breakdown, episode 94. We're recapping UFC 276. And, man, the prelims, best part of the whole card. Like, literally, not hyperbole, not hype. Like, I really feel that way. Like, no, hindsight 2020, obviously, no belts, no, like, name cachet. But, like, if you're telling me I have to pay $75 to watch these 4 fights or the next 4 fights, give me these. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, I would take these 4 over the next 5.
Yeah.
Technically no contest, so there is a no contest. We won't tell you who. But does that mean that it's 4-4? I hope so at the gambling sportsbook.
Yeah, we're
just so everyone at home knows. We did have a lot of parlays going. We do have this one included on a couple of the parlays running up next. Andrew Moakley got very close to winning a lot of money with this was one of his picks. So we have Dricus Duplessis, minus 150, fighting number 12 Brad Tavares at plus 130 in the middleweight division.
A lot of middleweights on the card. Like, a lot of shit got kind of worked out in the middleweight division last night.
We needed it.
Yeah,
we needed
for sure.
It. Needed it big time. Yeah, it kind of gives you up and down, like where to scale people, you know, like what do you do with Pereira next, like what do you do with Strickland next, like what do you do with Tavares and Duplessis next. Like, I do like they're like opening the divisions up and letting you see
Muniz and Hall.
Oh yeah, I forget they're 85 as well.
Like, I think Muniz is a player in the division now.
Yeah,
like, he matters.
I agree with you. And so here it's almost like if Tavares wins, he gets to probably get that crack at. I mean, hell, you could do Muniz Tavares if Tavares is to win here. You know, that's not a terrible play. On the flip side, Tavares is to lose here. You probably do Tavares and Uriah Hall, right near the back.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then, yeah, Duplessis was one of these kind of exciting guys. You know, I think we've seen him win a couple bonuses, but we're like, you know, how good is he? He's knocking out these prelim fighters. Like,
exactly right. He's really explosive, though.
Super explosive, really strong, really athletic, and it's like, okay, so like, what does it look like when he can't just out-athlete these guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that was a lot of the questions. But that being said, we like Duplessis. We put our money where our mouth is. I only had him on one parlay, but Harrison had him on multiple. And this is a pick Harrison felt strongly about. You kind of sold me on it, convinced me to bet it, and we'll get to it how this fight plays out because it is a banger and it is, you know, a competitive match. But we like Duplessis.
Yeah, no, I definitely liked him. I just thought against Brad Tavares, that Tavares gets hit, he just has an insane chin.
Yeah, he does, which was on full display. Like, we were just
insane.
Yeah, we kept looking at each other like, this
we
fucking
kept
guy's
looking over
chin,
like, how is he not getting dropped on the back ends of these 2s and 3s?
Yeah.
All that said, I thought Tavares took the first round 10-9 behind like a lot of control for the most part, because Duplessis kept trying to force him to be in these like exchanges situations. And they weren't necessarily even smart. Like,
yeah, no,
Duplessis stronger.
Duplessis spent the whole first round trying to get a takedown, which I didn't like as a guy who bet Duplessis. Like, we know, like I said, I know him for his power, for his explosion, for his ability to like get damage off, and like I said, I mean, I know Tavares is known as a striker, and he thought he was the stronger guy and he could take down the striker, but I hated the game plan, hated the approach. Now, granted, which led to me scoring it for 10-9 Tavares, because Tavares pretty much defended every takedown and then actually reversed it and got on top. So, yeah, I really don't see how you could possibly, and he got more damage off. I really don't see how you give round one to Duplessis. Like I said, I was very frustrated as somebody who bet Duplessis because they said, like, I bet on this guy that I thought was going to, you know, throw bombs, and he's just clinching and failing takedowns and gassing himself. And I'm like, geez, it's not looking good.
Tavares cracked him a couple times, too.
Yeah.
And not in the best kinds of ways for us. You know what
I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, if you're betting Duplessis and you see him getting hit like that. Now, beautifully.
He scrapped the game plan after round one, though.
I mean, and chef's kiss to that.
Yeah, thank God.
It was fucking terrible.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if they got a new coach or what the fucking thing was with the wrestling in the first round, but Chael talks about it a lot, that like when times get hard and you know you're facing some adversity, you're gonna go back to that thing that got you there, the thing, you know, your bread and butter.
Yeah,
you know, like you're not gonna go to that new technique you spent the last 6 weeks kind of drilling in a gym on the mat. Like, you're gonna go to your bread, like, it's fight or flight at that point. You know, like
honestly, makes sense.
And I'm fucking glad Duplessis went back to throwing fucking bombs.
So he started getting on the end of like. Dude, his entries were like, he would just start blitzing.
Yeah, and I didn't love it, but it was working. And it's like, it was the classic definition of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
but it was kind of broke though, right? Like the thing we talked about live while watching it was that if he would have gotten Tavares to circle toward the cage and then line up those blitzes, he was going to be very successful. Tavares couldn't move backwards and take some of the sting off those shots. And I think if Tavares is pressed against the cage, eating that 1-2 or the 2-3 on the back end, I think it looks like a whole lot different fight.
No, you're right. Yeah. So Duplessis would start these blitzes from like not super far out from Tavares, but super far out in the middle of the cage to where Tavares could pretty much just backpedal and avoid these straight lines because he wasn't cutting angles, he wasn't setting anything up. It was literally just boom, 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 schoolyard blitz, and which, like I said, could have been effective if he would have positioned Tavares closer to the back of the side of the cage. That way, whenever he started to backpedal, he would hit the cage and, by definition, eat a shot. Like I said, it worked. I gave round 2 to Duplessis. He was getting the damage off. Like I said, he would miss like the first 2, maybe even the first 3, but land that 3rd, 4th, maybe even the 5th. And it was very crude. It was very primitive. It was like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it wasn't high level, but it was effective. And that's what I meant by if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It could have been better, but it was working, and it was essentially the only thing of the fight to that point that had worked for Duplessis. So he just kept going to the well. Like, it was literally he was kind of spamming it.
He was literally spamming it. Like, if you're playing a video game, he kept doing the same thing over and over and over. Now, let me ask you this. Where's the check hook from Tavares if he's going to keep entering?
I was waiting for it. Like, that's what
just to see him fall on his face from
I literally was waiting for it. That's like when I say I didn't love it, but it was working. Like, there's a lot of guys that would have slept Duplessis for it was so predictable. It was so crude and just basic and rudimentary.
Oh, he could never fight Cannonier, or is he doing that?
Yeah, like if somebody just stepped off to the side, like on it, like could you imagine? Like, I mean, obviously weight classes, but like what if somebody tried that bullshit against like a Sugar Sean, like, or like, you know what I'm saying?
Imagine someone tried against Alex Pereira.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that you couldn't try that against, which I guess kind of speaks to Tavares' level, right? Because we want to talk about him as a veteran. That's what surprised me. Going into this, I thought Duplessis was probably the better athlete, the younger, badder, hungrier dude. But I thought Tavares, probably had the experience, the fight IQ advantage. Like, the fact that Tavares couldn't solve like the simplest puzzle ever was a little not alarming because I don't really care, but I didn't get that. I was giving Tavares the benefit of the doubt, like, oh, he's gonna catch him rushing in on one of these.
I think that's the story of Brad Tavares' career because we both give round 2 obviously to Duplessis, I believe, right?
Yeah,
so 1919, we get to round 3. Round 3 looks extremely similar to round 2. Tavares doesn't make any more switches or changes. Doesn't change his game plan at all.
No, and neither does Duplessis to that.
But why, if it ain't broke,
don't fix it. That's the name of this little section of the breakdown. But seriously, I'm not whoever Duplessis is training with. I think he needs to switch camps because like the initial wrestling game plan was horse shit.
That was a bad game.
Kind of just levels to the striking and like the fight IQ. Like but like the shell, the package that like the intangibles, even the tangibles,
the
like
athleticism is crazy.
Duplessis a stud athlete, tough guy, has the right mentality. Not like he's a dog. But I just don't like the technique or game plans, which that's coaching.
That's coaching.
That's coaching.
I agree with you completely, man. And I also want to say, too, Tavares has to be up for Chin of the Year, at least in a nomination sense. Because so a lot of these shots we saw landing, I think Duplessis knocks dudes out with those. Oh, yeah. This is a 185. He's a big guy.
Big guy. And Duplessis is a big 185. He's built like a fucking action figure.
Yeah, like I think that has to come into play here. Brad Tavares is pretty big himself, but I think that has to be taken into consideration, to his weight. Like, the chin to be able to stand up to 85 pounds.
You're right. That's a lot of force.
Crazy.
And like I said, he was getting caught with like the 3rd or 4th punch in like a combo.
Yeah, like he would dodge like the jab and the straight, and then he would eat like the uppercut and the hook, or like the hook and the overhand.
Yeah.
And it was like, how are you eating those two?
Like, those are the shots that put guys down. Like, it was the shot.
Those are the ones that you usually get hit with the jab, and then you move off the center line and you see him finish the combo, and you're like, I'm glad I didn't get hit with the 3 or the 4.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, all the judges saw it the exact same way we did. We both gave Duplessis the 3rd round, so that gives him 29-28. Judges saw it same as us. Duplessis, it's really hard to be too high on him because, yes, he's ranked now, or should be ranked come Tuesday or whatever it is. And, Tavares, I mean, that's a good win. That was a good win. A big step in the right direction for Duplessis. But however, what I saw, the inability to take down, the very rudimentary striking approach that, like, as we talked about, higher level guys are going to dismantle that approach.
Oh, there's no way you get away with that. There's
No.
no way.
And
That straight line entry. Now, granted, he is kind of moving left and right.
head movement on the entry, but not
enough to save it from a check hook that the guy starts to read.
nothing set up
It
at
doesn't
all.
change that footwork. It's the same footwork every time.
Like, even if he would, like, feint a takedown and then do the blitz, like, there was just nothing. It was literally just fucking this. Which, it worked. But like I said, hopefully, you know, I would love to see him maybe switch up camps, or I don't know. I know that's a touchy subject for a lot of fighters, a lot of loyalty to, like, gyms and all that, but hey, the X's and O's there, I mean, are just...
loyalty in sports is that's terrible. You know, you can't be loyal to a team, and a team can't be loyal to you.
Well, not as a professional. If you're talking amateur, high school, whatever, sure, be
it's important, sure.
But yeah, I mean, once dollars and cents and
once
livelihoods.
you're paying me to be somewhere, you're paying me for the expectation of my performance. You know what I mean?
100%.
It has nothing to do with how loyal I am to you or you to me.
So this leg of our parlays hit. Did you just had the money line, right? No over under, nothing like that.
Just a lot of money lines. And this is one of those fights where, and we'll get it. It's a great transition. I didn't necessarily know how this fight would go.
This next one.
No, this one, the Duplessis Tavares. I thought Duplessis would win. I just didn't know if it would be Tavares trying to grapple him on the cage, him kind of get the space and then tag him up, or if it was going to be kind of what we saw in the second and third rounds, where it's all at space and Tavares doesn't grapple at all. I don't know. I was surprised Tavares didn't go back to grappling. I definitely would have tried a little more if I was him. But like I was just saying there, the transition there is that Ian Gary, Gabe Greenman. I think we spent a lot of time talking about this too.
Yeah.
This was a hard one. This was a hard one.
No. Coming up next, we got 24-year-old undefeated Ian Gary, prospect with a lot of hype coming in. I didn't grab the money line on this one.
Minus 180 for Ian Gary and plus 155 for Gabe Green.
Yeah, coming in the welterweight division, and I said a lot of hype on Gary, but Gabe Green's the type of guy that doesn't give a fuck about that. Like,
he does not. Honestly, I think he does better whenever he's the. This isn't even necessarily a big underdog or a big.
Which we were surprised on. We thought the hype on Gary would have a bigger money line, so we did. Love the value on Gary. The fact that Gary had a 1 in his money line, we thought was really dope for a parlay builder. But that being said, this fight I was nervous for. Like I said, before the Moonies fight, I was so confident in my pick that I was like, fuck yeah, let's get this bread, boys. But before this one, palms are sweaty, mom's spaghetti.
Palms sweaty. And then, honestly, as the first round's developing, palms are getting sweatier.
Yeah.
Because they're just... it was a banger to start, man. The first 10 minutes were just Gabe Green and Gary back and forth trading.
Well, and a big theme of this fight, with Gabe Green being the much shorter guy. When you're the shorter guy, what do you have to do? Go for it. Put the taller guy on his back foot. Get in the crowded space.
He was doing a great
job.
Gabe
Green was doing all of that. Gabe Green was doing really everything that you could ask him to do. He was executing the game plan. He was landing shots. He was, avoiding the big shots. And he did a lot. That being said, I had it pretty close. I ended up going 10-9 Gary. Gary was the exact opposite of Duplessis. The high level, the getting out of the way, the
countering,
the stepping off an angle,
Yeah.
Not going in straight lines. You'll hear high level strikers talk about curling off and never even going forward or backwards. You never really want to go in a straight line. Gary, like I said, there was a lot to like for Green, and it wasn't a perfect round for Gary. It wasn't a dominant round for Gary.
That's perfect way to say it. It's not dominant, but he did what he needed to do to win the round.
I agree, but it was a lot of fun. It was a banger. That's another thing about Gary's fight style. Like, in all of his fights, even the fights where he was big favorites, he gets touched. And that's what made me so nervous for this bet.
Me too.
He does get, he's going to get touched. He's going to continue to get touched. Guys who have that fight style, rarely, change it up that much. That's who he is. He's in a fist fight. He gives some to take some. He's not the most forward pressure heavy guy. So, he hits some shots. Now, being 6'3", huge advantage for that kind of style. He can kind of step back, get his head out of the way, counter, whenever guys are trying to exit.
He's really good at getting off to that angle, off the line and off to the side angle and getting out to the edge, right? And then striking back from the edge. I really do love that about Ian Gary. I thought that's kind of what allowed him to even get the first round. More so the second and third too, right? Because second round feels very similar to the first, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do think that as the fight progresses, the gap widens. I thought the round,
every round got more damage Gary was doing to Green,
which speaks to the cardio, speaks to the kind of level-headed, kind of steady as she goes kind of approach.
Well, and the ability to adapt, right? Like in the moment, in the situation, and to continue to slightly get better and better and better and better as it all went on.
And like I said, if you're gonna be moving backwards, you better be throwing a lot of volume. And he was.
And he was.
He was like tripling up the significant strikes, doubling up the significant strikes. Listen, Gabe Green, but once again, not taking anything away from Gabe Green. Gabe Green was marching forward. He was putting Gary on the back foot, and he was landing bombs. Like, I mean, he was doing, like, if you're Gabe Green's coach, like, that's what you're asking him to do.
Significant strikes thrown was 193 for Gary, 195 for Green.
Oh,
Their strikes were very similar. Now, Gary landed 116 of his significant strikes, whereas Gabe Green landed 90.
That makes a lot more sense.
I think that
paints
26 strike, significant strike differential is essentially what you're looking at.
The accuracy.
The extra 9 to 10 he's landing per round, that's all it was.
No, it paints the exact picture I said. Gabe Green did, and he's going to give a lot of people hell in his career. Like, he's a tough.
Yes.
I kept saying it all night. Tough son bitch. He's a tough son bitch. But seriously, man, I mean, Gary, absolute stud. I mean, we had it 30-27. All three judges had it 30-27. It moves him to 10-0. I mean, he's getting goddamn close to a ranking. I mean, these young welterweights,
and
dude.
he's the new Irish guy on the block.
New Irish guy on the block. We already know that's going to help. I mean, it doesn't hurt, right? It doesn't hurt.
Can't hurt. He's from the same gym as Connor. Literally started fighting because he watched Connor and used to sell hand wraps to the fighters. That was like his, I don't know if it was his dad's business, if a business. He just like got hired to go to gym and sell hand wraps. But was selling hand wraps at that gym and saw Connor and was like, I want to do this. That's
a sick story. It really is. And like I like Ian Gary. I thought he looked a lot better in this fight than he did his last fight. Even I remember.
They looked a lot sharper in this fight, man.
And 10-0, nothing to sneeze at. He's only 24 years old. I mean, these young welterweights. I mean, the Rachmanovs of the world. Dude. I mean, these young guys. I mean, Sean Brady's of the world.
I mean, where do you think Ian Gary is versus the back end? Because I mean, consider this too. Shavkat was, 15 last week?
Right, now he's 10. So, I mean, does Neil Magny just get fed another one?
There's no way they're that rude to Magny.
No, I think they're exactly that rude to Magny. I think that's like Magny's that's his role.
Oh, it's so tough. So, we're looking at Magny's 12, Jeff Neal's 13, Li Jingling's 14, Michael Pena.
Bro, when's the last time Jeff Neal's fought? Like, they need to make him fight somebody. Like,
I'm with you. And the guy works at Texas Roadhouse. Like, there's no way he's not needing a fight.
Yeah, like, is he hurt? Like, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I feel like he's been at 12, hasn't fought anybody in forever. I mean, Jangling, I don't think, has he fought since the Hamzat loss?
Last fight for Neal was Ponzinibbio in December of last year.
December of last year. So 7 months. I mean, that's not too insane.
Almost 8. We're
almost 8.
We're a week away from 8 months.
Yeah. So
a long time.
I'm cool with the Gabe Green matchup for Ian Gary. I mean, I'm cool with that. That makes sense to me. I don't know what else you're doing with Jeff Neal.
So Jeff Neal and Ian Gary?
Or Li Jingliang, like whatever. Interchangeable mediocrities, in my opinion.
Zhang Liang is booked against Muslim Salikov. 2 weeks from now.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess that answers that. Looking like Jeff Neal if I'm a matchmaker.
And what about Michelle Pereira?
Yeah, you could. I think they're like doing something with Michelle Pereira. Like the matchups they give him, you know what I'm saying? Like they give him like banger matchups. Like he's that guy. Ooh. Like he's the fun fight guy.
What about Ponzinibbio for Ian Gary?
Sure, that level of guys. I think we're saying the same thing there, right? Like
right near the back end of the division.
Yeah,
so you can start to like get his work in on the path.
Yeah, because I mean, find me a tougher unranked guy than Gabe Green. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean,
Ponzinibbio's the only one I can think of.
He's already past like these level. He's passed that test, right? Like he's on to the next level of the video game. Like it's time. Like I mean, just like Sugar Sean, you know, which that's what happens here. Like
how about the winner of the Miller Cerrone fight?
I think Jamil is still really a lightweight though. I think he only moved. I feel that was tongue in cheek, but I was willing to consider it for a second, to be honest. But speaking of great transition, up next We got Jim Miller minus 190 taking on Cowboy Cerrone plus 160. Fight taking place at welterweight, really as a courtesy to Cowboy.
Yeah.
Cowboys had the 2 Joe Lazon pullouts, and was it 2 times in 3 weeks, 2 times in 4 weeks. Made weight essentially. Guy Cerrone's age cutting all the way down to 55, 2 times in whatever it is, a month, less than a month. I think it was kind of cool they didn't ask him to do it again, mainly because I didn't think he'd be able to do it again, and that would have been another canceled fight. And so the fact that it was just agreed to at welterweight, I liked it for Jim Miller. You know, his older ass isn't trying to cut the weight either, especially if it's not going to be a mismatch.
Right.
And then Cowboy Cerrone, I appreciate kind of doing him a solid, you know what I mean, after what he's been through with these Joe Lazon pullouts. Yeah, you know, I was pretty stoked on this one. Another one that I felt uber confident in, like Jim Miller minus 190, value city, fucking thrift store value. I loved it. I also loved the under. I believe it was 2.5 on this one.
It was 1.5.
Wasn't 1.5? Was I that bullish on 1.5?
I don't think I
It
bet.
was 1.5.
Yeah,
I bet it.
Yeah, because I wrote a note at the very end of this that I was like,
I got it at plus 125. Pretty much that was based on Jim Miller. I mean, has looked absolutely fantastic. I mean, gotten bonuses in like what, 2 of his last 3?
Yeah,
Like,
you made a great point, man. You sold me on this. I didn't originally love Jim Miller that same way. I mean, I liked Miller. Don't get me wrong. We got him at minus 180. But I definitely liked him enough to put him in this parlay that was just Jalen Turner and Riddell next. And, like, that's a small one, but it was one that I bet 10 on because I was like, I'm so sure this happens. I'm so sure.
yeah, no, I loved Jim Miller. Like, I thought that was fantastic value. Mainly because, like, I mean, if you've watched previous episodes of The Breakdown, every time we go, like the past 3, 4, maybe even 5 Cerrone fights, we've just said the same thing, like, I want to be mad if he hung it up. I want to be mad if he hung it up. He's getting towards the end. I don't know how much he has left. And then Jim Miller breakdowns have gone the exact opposite. Like, holy fucking shit, this guy's still a dude.
Like, how is Jim Miller in his, like, 39th UFC fight and he still looks this good?
Fucking it. So, like, I don't know. Like, that's not high level, like, breakdown. But it was just, like, one guy has been super impressive. One guy has been, like, clearly on the decline and clearly nearing the end.
I mean, Dana didn't even want to give Cerrone fights. Dana has publicly said multiple times, like, I'm not giving that guy fights, and if I do, they have to be, like, Legends Division fights.
Yeah, which, like, the Lozon fight. Which
now, that would have been a way cooler fight, Lozon and Cerrone, because, like you're saying, Jim Miller really isn't in the Legends Division yet, in my opinion. Like,
he is
from
still
his name,
kind of active.
He's good, though, too, man. Like, I actually like Jim Miller's skill set.
You're right, man. And yeah, round 1. I mean, this fight isn't going to be told. The story of this fight's not going to be told as like it was a competitive match. Round 1 was
Super competitive. I was actually very interested to hear how you scored it.
Yeah, no, me too. Like, honestly, round 1 was making me sweat. As the guy that was sucking off Jim Miller all week, like, I fucking was sweating. Cowboy Cerrone was landing the kicks, going forward, did a lot good. Now, I still came down on the side of 10-9 Miller. I thought he did get more damage off, and he got that sub attempt from the bottom whenever Cerrone did get on top, so it kind of nullified the advantage for Cerrone there. Now, Cerrone had some nice leg kicks, some nice body kicks. You may have even thrown more strikes, I don't know, but I thought Jim Miller just more effective, put Cerrone in a more dangerous position.
I honestly thought the activity off of his back was
Yeah,
what
very
really,
active guard.
This really gave me the round for Miller, man, because I thought Miller was slightly ahead on the feet, just slightly. Cerrone gets the takedown, and then it's, of course, you know, I got to give credit to a takedown and control, but then I start to realize as I'm watching it, there's not a lot of control here. It's actually Miller throwing up a lot of submission attempts or guard changes, guard play kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right. To say that Miller was being controlled paints like an inaccurate picture.
That would be a lie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure, man. And I think what we're kind of a little foreshadowing there with Jim Miller being the active guard.
It's a good point. I think it's a good point. I didn't think about that in the moment, but yeah, we get to the second round here. I had a 10-9 Miller, so did you. Let's see what the judges had real fast, just to see if we are crazy or not.
But also, round 1's completed, and I have under 1.5, so your boy's sweating.
Two judges, 10-9 Jim Miller, one judge, 10-9 Cerrone.
I don't hate that. I see where they're coming from. You know what I mean? It's not egregious.
Nate Maness's brother.
Is the judge?
Anthony Maness.
Oh, wow. I never knew that. That's weird.
I think it's actually his, like, uncle or some shit,
But no, round 2, talk about sweaty. So if this fight lasts over 2.5 minutes, I lose my bet. And we get to a minute 32. And fight ends by Jim Miller getting the guillotine. Like I said, the whole first round he had a super active guard, was attempting subs, said a little foreshadowing.
Got Cerrone hurt on the feet.
Yeah,
got him to shoot in, and then just literally sat down into it and rocked back into the guillotine. Man, I loved that guillotine.
Super tight. I mean, Cerrone held on for a while, but never really was able to really make any progress in getting out of it. I mean, Miller had it locked up tight. Now, really, the only question is, like I said, it wasn't the fastest submission. I was like, is Jim Miller's arms gonna burn out? Is Jim? How long can he squeeze for? The answer was long enough. You know what I mean? Cerrone eventually taps, but it wasn't a quick tap. It wasn't an easy sub. But yeah, minute 32. So I hit my under. I hit my Jim Miller money line, and that actually ends up winning me some money. So far on this parlay, I got I hit Moniz money line, minus 350. I got the under 1.5 and Cerrone Miller plus 125. Super juicy for the parlay. And then I also had Jim Miller money line on that same parlay.
You still have one leg to hit on that one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I didn't want to spoil anything. And then, I had Jim Miller on a few other parlays. I said this was my most bullish pick. This fight and the Muniz fight, call me Mystic Mac. I knew how they were going to go down.
Really wants to see all my parlays.
Yeah, Harrison put in work, but you know what?
Yeah.
And but yeah, Harrison, enjoying the Nevada legal sports betting life, and he took full advantage of being in town. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, that gets Jim Miller the record for most wins in UFC history. The winner of this fight was going to have that record regardless. Had Cerrone won, the record would have gone to him. The big elephant in the room.
Jim Miller's all class. Before you introduce it, Jim Miller's just all class to give the moment up.
All class, yeah. So as you know, Joe Rogan was there. He's interviewing the winner, as he so often does, and but Jim Miller stops him before he can even finish his question. It was like, no, this is Cerrone's moment. He knew what was coming. He knew what was about to happen, and what happened was Cerrone retired, man. Yeah.
Needed to happen for a long time.
Needed to happen, man.
But honestly, legend of the UFC.
Legend of the UFC. The word fan favorite gets thrown around a lot. He actually to the point where it'll affect betting lines and it'll affect
like I told you in the morning, the ESPN UFC pick'em or whatever. 51% of the fans took Cerrone. It was there's no way.
Yeah, exactly. Cerrone, people love this guy. I mean, around forever. I mean, fought multiple weight classes. I mean, fought some of the toughest guys. I mean, fought multiple Hall of Famers. I mean, had some great wins. He never got a belt, right? Did Cerrone have a belt?
No, I don't know if he even ever fought for it.
Yeah, he was always...
Fought for it maybe once in an interim or something similar to it, perhaps.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of career.
Yeah.
Hung around the top of the division forever.
Yeah.
Forever. Kind of...
He's your best man, but never the husband.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not the best. That's not how he's going to be remembered. He's going to be remembered as a guy that was loved, a guy that spanned multiple generations, a guy that took short notice fights, a guy that was active.
I'm pretty sure he's already in the Hall of Fame, and I think that's weird. Well, I think it's for fights or performances.
Yeah.
But it's they call him a Hall of Famer already, and it's well, that performance was in the Hall of Fame, but he still has to be inducted himself.
Is Duho Choi a Hall of Famer? You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
it's no, he's not. In fact, now Cub Swanson maybe.
Yeah, I like the NFL will have little your cleats from this game will go to the Hall of Fame. That doesn't mean you're a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? That's how
put on a legendary performance.
Yeah, that's how the other sports handle that. Our basketball players you drop 60 in this game, but
we'll take this jersey.
Yeah, exactly, and you get, but you're not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
You know
yes,
what I mean?
yeah, and I think that's the way it should be approached and handled. That makes a lot of sense, man. But
yeah.
We can keep it pushing because this one is going to
grab another Coors real quick. You need one?
Yeah, grab me a Happy Dad.
Oh, okay.
Fuck you, Steve. Steve won't do it if we're talking about make a good seltzer. Man, I'm just kidding. You know I love you, Steve. Next fight's a big one, man, and I think as far as Muniz, Miller, and Turner, that's going to be the three that maybe D-Mac and I were the biggest on, to be quite honest. I mean, Holloway, Volkanovski under 4.5, we were really big on, and we'll get there obviously in the main card breakdown. But I mean, Jalen Turner here minus 145, fighting number 14 Brad Riddell at plus 125 in the lightweight division. Honestly, man, this is one of those ones where, I mean, you love Jalen Turner.
Yeah. So like, I gotta interject here. I'm a big Jalen Turner guy. Like I said, I have to amend my previous statements. I had him on multiple parlays. I said Miller and Muniz were the ones I felt the most confident about. I loved me some Jalen Turner, especially at minus 155. I loved the value there. I think this was a deceptive one because of rankings. Riddell, 14, ranked 14th. He's been in there. He's won bonuses. He's been pretty high on cards before in the past. He's a city kickboxing guy, kind of well known. And the Jalen Turner, here's this guy. He's been fighting on prelims. Not much is known about him. Not super out there. But every time I've watched Jalen Turner fight, he's left my fucking jaw on the floor, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking dude. This guy's a problem. Like, this guy, I mean, the measurables off the charts, literally 6'3" at lightweight, and he's not a beanpole. Like, his upper body is jacked. Now, beanpole legs, which, maybe might bite him in the ass one of these days, but the reach, insane. I mean, he has the upper body of a middleweight. I mean, like, literally.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, major problem. Can grapple, has like fight of the night submissions. I mean, performance bonus submissions, I'm pretty sure. Or if not, he definitely has submissions. He's won by sub. He's won by ground and pound. He's won by standing knockout. Like, you name a way to win a UFC fight, he not only can, but has.
Yeah.
Nobody really talks about him.
Now, I will say, he can be beaten. He's 12-5.
Oh, he's 12-5. 100% he can be beaten. I think a lot of those fight L's. Pull up his page real quick. You're right, but I do think there's something to be said about guys figuring stuff out and kind of hitting their stride and putting it together. Right? You know what I mean?
Man, this was 5'7" versus 6'3" in height.
Yeah, that's another thing. Brad Riddell was 5'7".
Yeah, 8-inch height difference, and like the stats we talked about on the reach. I think the reach was 6 inches, the height was 8 inches. And Jalen Turner's younger. I think like the analytic combination of that was like he had like a 93% chance to win. Lost to Matt Frivola, been KO'd by Luque. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, that's a good that's a tough.
And then 2 losses in his first 4 fights, so I'm not even gonna worry.
Yeah, so it's a couple losses early on. Lost to a stud in Luque, who's a division up from him now. And
the Frivola decision was tough.
Yeah, that's a bad one. But like I said, I mean, to say that was 6 fights ago, to say he's the same fighter that lost to Matt Frivola is just.
And I will say too, his last fights, Josh Culibao, KO in 2020, February 2020. Brock Weaver, submission, September 12th, 2020. Brock Weaver was also getting literally beat half to death in that fight. I remember that fight. Uros Medic, who that was a big opponent, right? Like, that was a big fight.
That was a good win. Not a can at all.
That was his only fight in 2021. That was a year after the Weaver fight. I'm not sure why he had to take off.
No,
he didn't get his arm. I always think of Jamal Hill.
No, he did get hurt though. I think he had.
He did get hurt.
Yeah. So I follow him on Instagram. He had some pictures in the cast or something.
Right. So submits Medic. Then fights Jamie Malarkey, March 5th of this year.
Which we respect Malarkey's skill. Like, Malarkey's a tough.
Slapped him.
Yeah, slapped him. But, I mean, Malarkey's a good opponent. That's a good win.
And then, obviously this fight here against Brad Riddell that we're diving into.
Yeah, and really we're beating around the bush because this fight lasts 45 seconds. So as a guy who I think I had the under on, I bet the under on this one.
Yeah, me too. So I have a Jalen Turner Riddell under right here.
Yeah, I bet Jalen Turner money line and the under on the under 1.5 on this one. I know we got under 2.5 on this one.
Yeah, under 2.5
at minus 170. I was all over it.
It was dumb.
I was all over it. Yeah, Mystic Mac strikes again over here, but
Mystic D-Mac.
Mystic D-Mac, yeah, but yeah, man, I felt super good about this fight. Lasts 45 seconds. He absolutely drills him. So there's a sequence. We talked about height. We talked about reach. Jalen Turner, Brad Riddell throws a leg kick. So Brad Riddell's at kicking range. Jalen Turner
Oh, yeah.
returns with the right hand. So when Riddell's at kicking range, Turner's at punching range. That's how drastic this size discrepancy was.
And with Turner's reach and power, that was literally the reason I love Jalen Turner by KO here. Was like if Riddell tries to do something from distance and like puts his guard down at all, like drops. And when you think about throwing a kick, it's gonna slant his shoulder down to where that over the top like hook that Turner hit him with, just flush, man.
Dropped him, wobbled him, hurt him real bad, and then Jalen
We were
Turner.
losing our mind watching that.
Oh, we were losing our mind, yeah, and we loved it. And then he jumps guillotine, so officially gets the guillotine win. But I mean, he could have knocked him out. He could have guillotined him. He could have, armed like it was his choosing. Like
yeah, it was whatever he wanted to do.
It was a wrap. And Jalen Turner has a versatile enough skill set to where like he literally can pick and choose. We're not just saying that. Like, yeah, Jalen Turner, big win for him. I mean, led off the prelim main event on ABC. Big platform.
That's a huge platform.
First time the prelims were on ABC.
He's obviously
over a ranked guy.
Yeah, obviously going to get to jump to that ranking now. Right?
Big time.
Becomes number 14.
Big time.
So,
happy for my guy.
Let's see who he gets to look at next. Lightweight's always funny to me. No picture of the lightweight champion for those of you at home that are wondering, because there isn't one.
It's that vacant. People think it's Oliveira, but it's not. Technically, I feel you. It is Oliveira.
So McGregor's 12. That ain't happening, honestly. Hooker's 13.
I think that could easily happen.
Sarukian's 11. Sarukian off a loss at 11, and Riddell and Jalen Turner off a win at 14.
No,
like,
that's probably about as hard of a fight as you can give him. Like if you're trying to
lose,
yeah, that's about as if you're trying to rebuild Sarukian. Which I'm not saying Sarukian. Like that's a close fight. I'd have to look deeper, see how I feel about that, see if the money line's at. But
well, I mean, we have Fiziev RDA next week too. If RDA just gets smoked by Fiziev,
bring it back up. And then because he just beat Bat Riddell. Yeah, I guess fighting. I don't know. I don't hate the Dan Hooker fight. Like usually I don't like guys fighting one ranking up. It seems like too slow of a climb. But like Dan Hooker's a name. Like you beat Dan Hooker, like that still means something. Like whether you think it should or not.
Yeah, you're totally right. I just wonder if stylistically if that's.
Isn't Riddell and Hooker teteammates?
Yeah.
So if you just like the city kickboxing's daddy, you know what I'm saying?
My
like,
God, Bulk's gonna come up out of nowhere.
He's Bulk's
like, nah.
Like, but I don't know, man. Like I said, I love Turner. Like I said, he skateboards. There's like personal reasons why I like him. He's a really good skateboarder. I skateboard. He's a cool guy. I mean, the physique, the measurables, in fucking insane for the division. I think he's a matchup nightmare for like a lot of guys. Like. Now, there are certain guys that are probably matchup nightmares for him, like a high level, like a Dariush probably get like. But we're talking that's top of the top. But like, I mean, like for example, maybe you say I know I'm high, I've been smoking, but like, I think he gives Michael Chandler trouble because I think Michael Chandler tried to trade with him.
I hate it because from a matchup perspective, I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Conor. Like him and Conor.
Connor's a fun fight, and especially if you're trying to give Conor a quote unquote tune-up, but that's like be careful what you wish for.
Careful what you wish for.
Careful what you wish for.
He's got big power and range.
Big power,
and Conor's
big
not
range.
shooting takedowns.
No,
he's gonna be trying to counter off the. Now that is where Conor's gonna succeed is if he can slide the shot, but stay tight in the pocket, right? So completely slide the shot.
But I think Turner could keep him at kicking range.
Would he try? I don't know.
I would if I was him, but either way, there's fun fights to be made for Turner. It's kind of, like I say, he's not the most active guy in the world, so I think that may factor in with how fast or slow he's like quote unquote built. But
right.
I think there's fights all up and down the rankings that he could win. Now you could say the flip side, there's guys up and down the rankings that could probably give him some trouble, but depending on how they match him up and how they go about his career, I think Turner easily is going to be a top 10 guy, probably. Or next couple fights, and I mean, he matters now. He's always mattered to me. I've always liked him. I think he's like part of the conversation at 55 now.
I agree with that. I think they're. Man, so this is weird, right? Because RDA is going to fight Fiziev. If Fiziev wins that, you almost have to go Gamrot Fiziev. I think from how closely they won together. The way their styles
match also,
up.
If Islam's fighting Charles, then Beneil needs an opponent.
Apparently, Oliveira. Did you hear what Oliveira said last night?
Oliveira said a lot lately. He said he wants Conor.
He said he's literally not. He said, "I don't care about the belt. I'll fight Conor not for the belt."
Yeah. I don't know what to do with that.
Well, Oliveira's. I mean, I think he's feeling himself a little bit because he's like, I'm the best in the division. I've beaten all these other guys. I get to pick who I want to fight. I'm number one. I get to pick who I want.
But you don't.
But you don't.
You don't. Like, and
you didn't make
and
weight,
also
though,
he's
huh?
not champ.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't call shots without a belt. No, you can say, "Oh, I'm talking paper. I'm splitting hairs." Kind of am splitting hairs, but it's like if he was the champ, I feel very different about how he's acting and what he's saying. He kind of forfeited that privilege.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree in principle. It's like you missed weight. You're not the belt holder. But I will say he's still number one in the division, and no one's better than him in that division, rankings-wise or past performances, with the exception of perhaps Islam.
Which I think the Islam fight's happening, dude. Like,
I think so too. I think the real fight is Conor Tony. They're 12-9.
Yeah, Conor.
And you can sell a pay-per-view with just them.
I know that'd be a weird pay-per-view though, but hey, they did it with fucking Masvidal and Covington.
Yeah, great point. Why can't
just
you do
this
that?
year.
And you know Conor and Tony sell pay-per-views.
And they'll put another belt for the co-main.
And that shit talk and the build-up is going to be great.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, who wouldn't love to see that? Yeah, man, this wraps up the prelim section of episode 94 of the Beefy Boys Breakdown. A lot of fun. Prelims were amazing. A lot of prospects emerged. They said, I think Turner matters. Oh, and Turner got a bonus, I do believe, too. The Jim Miller moment happened, the Cerrone moment happened, Ian Gary. I mean, all these big time prospects, like these guys are going to be on main cards at pay-per-views.
Oh yeah,
like
this whole
if not
card
this year, the next year.
This whole card's just littered with names, man. Littered with names. Speaking of which, I mean, yeah, this main card we're about to get into it. Obviously, I know we'll get to the next video, but my favorite 4-fight main card with my favorite 17-0 fighter.
This fucking guy. But yeah, we'll be right back. Subscribe, leave a comment, let us know, are you as high on these prospects as we are? I mean, I know I'm real high on Turner, pretty high on Gary. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks everybody. We'll be right back for this main card, which wasn't the best. We'll be right back.